Hey everybody, this is Professor Jason Snart. I am your instructor for English 1102 online here, so I'm just doing a little video welcome or check-in or whatever you want to call it to say hello and to welcome you to the course and to talk about a few kind of overarching concepts that will be important throughout the term or throughout our course. So the first thing though is really just, again, sort of welcoming you to the course, and I'm in it myself, so that's what I'm looking at and clicking on. And one of the first things that you want to do, if you haven't done it already, is there's a little read me first here that kind of talks about, making sure you have the technical hardware and software to be successful. So a computer of your own, you can email and attach documents and stuff like that. You don't need really sophisticated computer skills, but you do need to make sure you have a consistent place to work that's your own computer, so that you can watch videos or you have the sound on, and whatever else it might be. And of course that you have a stable high-speed internet connection. Pretty basic stuff, which most people have these days anyway. But the first thing to do then, once you've looked at that Read Me First piece, is to really just kind of navigate through the course and get a sense of where things are, how things are laid out. And for us, the links on the left here of the menu that you're going to see, really the most important are, first and foremost, the announcements page, but that's the one that pops up automatically. That's where you're watching this. And then beyond that, you really, the basic kind of operation of the course happens as you coordinate due dates in the due dates link, which is where I'm at right now, with the work that's assigned in each of the units in the units link. So it's pretty straightforward, I hope. Everything else is stuff about course policies or the course description, grading guidelines, and the grading breakdown and all that kind of stuff. But operationally, the most important thing to be aware of and really checking into and have the broad view of is the due dates, and then how each of the units, or where each of the units is due throughout the term. So you'll notice that Unit 1, the due date's listed here. Obviously all the work in Unit 1 is then due by the end of that day, like 11:59 p.m. if you want to be really technical about it. Don't wait till then to do the work, obviously. So once you know the due date, you can kind of plan your schedule and then, of course, click into the unit. And some units will have a lot of stuff, some not so much, some will be a lot of reading and not much writing, some vice versa. They're all different. Some will involve, like our final essay, unfolds over multiple units. So again, not all the units are identical. So you want to really take the time to make sure you understand what's required, how things are laid out, and all that kind of stuff. So Unit 1 is pretty simple. It's really just an introductions unit, trying to get a sense of who's in your class, and really that you are part of a class, even though it's online or virtual. So it's not just you and me interacting, and it's not self-paced. It's not like a correspondence school kind of model where you just do work and I grade it and it goes back and forth that way. It really is more of an interactive kind of experience, I hope. So in Unit 1 here, there's a couple of assignments that are having to do with just introducing yourself. The first is your home page. Again, it doesn't require any technical skill beyond just clicking a few things right here in Blackboard. There's lots of how-tos, so again, hopefully everything is fairly well laid out for you here. Note that you have to add a picture of yourself to get full credit here, so it's really important that we can see who each of our class members is. And then the other component to this unit is doing an introductions discussion board. So be aware that these are two separate assignments. And they duplicate in as much as you're just introducing yourself. Don't copy and paste the text over from one to the other. That's just lazy. But you're doing basically the same kind of thing. Part of the reason that I'm having you do the discussion board in addition to the homepage assignment is to get you familiar early on with how the discussion boards look and how they operate and what you have to click to make it do the things that you want it to do and all that kind of stuff. So again, the requirements are laid out here. Hopefully the grading guidelines are pretty clear. So to get us started working through the due dates for Unit 1, it really isn't a lot of labor-intensive kind of work that you're doing. You do need to make sure that you get the textbook sooner rather than later, and you can find that info in the textbook link here on the left-hand menu. Again, hopefully everything is laid out pretty clearly like that for you. But we get into using the textbook right away, so beyond Unit 1, you want to get that textbook sooner rather than later. So the big kind of idea that I want to talk to you about here is, again, like an overarching thing. It's not really a thing that you learn in this class per se, but it's an overarching idea that I want you to be conscious of throughout our course. And it's pretty simple, and it's stuff that you actually already know, but it's something that we tend to forget, I think, in English classes for whatever reason. So if you took, and I'll just take some typical example, like a history class or some sort of fact-based kind of class. You'll learn a fact in class, whether it's virtual like this or physically you're there. And then the assessment part of it, the prof gives you a test and you have to fill in the fact that you learned. Now that's a simplified example, but the relationship between your work in the course, right, your class time, whether it's virtual or not, and then the assessment is really clear. There's like a perfect correlation there. You can see it. And I want you to be really conscious that our English class operates the same way. There's not a lot of facts or dates of things or that kind of stuff that you have to memorize or that I would give you through the course, so the content's a little different. But every time we do an assessment, whether it's a discussion board post, a sort of minor writing assignment, or a major essay, which is really where the point value for our course lies, anytime you're doing that work, be really conscious that that's the assessment device that I use to see if the student is applying or has learned and is now applying course content. So in the same way that the history prof looks at the answer that you bubbled in or filled in, like you got the date right, for example, whatever factual material, that shows him or her that you've been to class, you've read the material if it's online, you've learned it, and now you can apply it when it comes time to assessment. So be really conscious that when you're sitting down to write an essay, that essay reflects stuff that we've done in the course. Too often I see, for whatever reason, it makes me just want to tear up. We do all of this work in the class, and people are, there, engaged, you're doing discussion board stuff, you're there, you're present. But then it comes at essay time, and it's like there's no connection in people's minds between the stuff that we've learned and now this assessment that they have to do. So there's no application of what people have learned in the course in the assessment, even though I can see that they've been involved in the course and they probably know the concepts. They just don't have that overarching idea that the essay is now the time to apply these overarching, or these the concepts that we've learned and probably practiced in a smaller form throughout the course. So be really conscious of understanding exactly what concepts we're learning and then how they can be put together in larger essays. And that might seem a little overwhelming, like how can I take all of the concepts we learn and make sure they're in an essay which has all of this other stuff, like it's not as simple as just bubbling in a Scantron. The fact is, in a course like ours, there's really not a lot of concepts that we cover. There's not hundreds. There's a few at best. And they're really important. So there's not like a lot of little things that you have to account for. There's really just a few major, important, fundamental concepts that I'll be looking for when I read your essay, when I look at that assessment device. So in addition now to getting yourself sort of situated and oriented and starting in with Unit 1, begin to be thinking in terms of, okay, what conceptually am I learning here? And then once we get into the writing assignments that we do, be really conscious of making sure that you're using that opportunity to show me, the prof, that you learn those concepts and now you can apply them in the writing situation. Like I said, it's really not rocket science, but for whatever reason, especially in English courses and maybe even in online courses more so. I don't know about that for sure, but for some reason in English, that connection between class material and assessment, it sort of breaks down for people. So that's what I want you to be really, really conscious of now, but also throughout the entirety of our term together. Okay, so my contact info is here in the course. You can email me, look me up on Skype if you want to connect so that we're contacts. If you see me online, you can send an instant message or video call or whatever you want to do. But as I'll repeat a number of times throughout these, especially given the online environment, we don't have that face-to-face interaction. It's really important that if you do have questions or concerns or something looks a little weird in the course, be in touch with me right away because I'll get back to you quickly. And it's really important that you have sort of 100% confidence in what you're doing. If you're a little shaky about it, that always produces not even bad work, but just work that's not the best that you could be doing. So feel free to be in touch if you have questions or concerns, and I will see everybody soon.